Hey guys, Brian back with you. Saturday, I believe it's the 27th today, Memorial Day weekend. Kind of worked out all right because one of my customers yesterday had an issue. I needed to swing back by there this morning, resolve that, and they happened to be right down the road from Cochrane Mill, my favorite place to come and hike and rejuve and what have you, my local spot, if you will. And figured I'd stop by this morning. After there, on the way home, bring my hammock with me. Fortunately, Waffles isn't with me today, so it's just a solo act. But at least I don't have to worry about him yanking me around right now. I love my dog, but when we come out here, he's just... I assume let him off the leash and go and pee where he wants to, smell what he wants to, and I don't have to be a part of it. He can just catch back up with me. He's really good about that. But whenever we come to these parks, people aren't all that keen on having dogs off leashes and what have you, so I try to do what I need to do to keep everything in works without any chaos and turmoil on my end. That's one of the things that I wanted to get into. Chaos and turmoil. There's been quite a lot of it in my life, and I have a reason to believe it's necessary. It's a necessary evil. You need to have that chaos in order to help build the character that you need to be. So, of course, when I'm going through all that chaos and turmoil, I look back at it and, nowadays I'm cool, man. I'm glad that I went through all that. At the time, I'm like, fuck this. But that's the one thing that I can give you as far as encouragement. If you're dealing with your dark night of the soul, and there's a lot of people that are otherwise going through that right now because the shifts that are taking place, and there's a lot of people that are stuck in the matrix, if you will. I got actually my Matrix shirt on. See, check it out. Wow. But anyways, they're stuck in the matrix. So, what you end up getting is, in a sense, let me get out of his way. Alright. So, you get the sense of, I got one more. Let me get out of his way, too. Gotta move a little bit quicker. Whoop! There you go. All right, how about yourself? All right, glad to hear it. So we've got this system in play. It wants to keep you in this altered state of consciousness where more or less you're a zombie. You're just going along, listening to the music they want you to listen to, watching the shows they want you to listen to, pulling that lever at work that they want you to pull, and here's a little bit of something to keep you sustained, to keep you going until tomorrow. Well, that system is coming to an abrupt end, and the people that have otherwise been in control of this system, we'll get into that as far as names go, but it's more or less the same entities that were doing it hundreds of years ago. The East India Company, we'll use that name. They just changed their name at the turn of the century to more or less the Rothschild banking cartel. So it's hard pressed to really have a lockdown of the trade system through the shipping. So that's essentially how you ended up locking down trade and commerce and what have you back in the day, is monopolizing all of the trade routes, owning essentially all of the ships that would otherwise be shipping anything, and use your more or less League of Merchants, people that like to eat and not otherwise be slaves. So they go to and do these jobs. Well, today, you've got more or less the same kind of system in place in order to keep the trades system going, keep things flowing, keep the commerce circulating, keep the economy going. And you've actually gotten to a point where you are implementing planned obsolescence. You're building shit that is otherwise planned to break down after so long. That way you can more or less keep the economy going. All of this is coming to an abrupt halt because the earth only has so many resources, okay? We are getting to a stage in the economy. The definition of economy is an efficient system, if you will, a perpetual system, and a sustaining system. Is when you look up the dictionary term of economy, it's certainly not this system we have in play today, because it's more or less a house of cards. And that's the best thing about it, is this house of cards is determined to fall. And all we have to do as twin flames, as intuitives, is create an atmosphere that would otherwise make it hard pressed for this system to keep going. Now, people tend to vote, think that happens, you know, every so often people get this urge to do something to make their voice be heard. But every day you have an opportunity to vote. Every day you have an opportunity to purchase something or not purchase something. And if you go and purchase a bunch of stupid shit to fill an urge and need, then you're voting for that. You're voting for a bunch of stupid shit. If you go and spend time watching Kim Kardashian shows and Dancing with the Stars where you're eating your fucking Hot Pockets in your microwave and what have you, yeah, that's your life. That's what you're going to become. That's what you're going to continue to keep in that cycle, if you will. Now, there are certain of those that have otherwise choose that path that aren't supposed to take that path. So, that's when you get these things like the dark night of the soul. Life comes and will fuck your shit up. Because you're not supposed to be sitting around watching Dancing with the Stars, eating fucking Hot Pockets with your thumb in your ass. It's not the life you're supposed to lead. So guess what? Life is going to fuck you up. Make sure that your Hot Pockets aren't going to be nearly as tasty as they were that you thought they were going to be. There's all kinds of life that's going to kick your ass. Until you start listening. Until you start paying attention to what's going on around you. Until you open up. When I was younger, most people would venture to say Brian is most certainly not going to be some kind of guru or talking about positivity in the world or being some kind of positive force. This motherfucker is likely to be the exact opposite. And they otherwise would be correct. You know, I find myself in this situation now is a bit of a bit of an enigma. I like that word, enigma. In a lot of ways, I am an enigma. So, growing up, God, I was so angry. I fucking was full of so much animosity towards the world, and shit, I still have tastes of that, you know. There's this one cool thing about Scorpios that I read, and talking about how all of the horoscope, the astrology folks, whatever I can't think of the word, But all the signs have a particular gift, a particular path that God lays out for you. And for me, it was something of the effect, Scorpio, you are given the power to see into people, see through people, see what they really are. And seeing that animalistic behavior in human beings more or less brings out that animalistic behavior in you. And because you have the ability to see people for who they really are, you see through their shit. You know that they're full of shit. You know that they are bullshitting, if you will. And you as a Scorpio, in a sense, understand that all these people are completely full of shit, and you start getting this hatred, this anger towards humanity. And in a sense, you're thinking like you've got this anger and hatred and what have you, animosity towards God, because well, this is God's creation. This is God's canvas, God's painting, if you will. This is God's situation, is my whole thought process at that point. So it's like, well, why in the fuck? What kind of God is just letting all this chaos happen in the world? You know what I mean? Why would God just let all of this stuff take place? Well, the more or less gist of that whole little paragraph, parable, what have you, whatever it would be, was once you take a step back, Scorpio, and realize that it's not God's painting and vision, artwork that you're upset with, if you will. It's not God that you're angry with. It's the perversion of it that human beings have gotten into. And that's the interesting thing about human beings. Human beings are I have reason to believe our conscious thought, our energy that we put off, is otherwise that dark matter, that dark energy. I'm getting chills, so I have to be on to fucking something here. That dark matter, that dark energy, that unforeseen force that scientists can't pinpoint, hey, this is what's going on here, is human consciousness. Is not even necessarily human consciousness, but consciousness as a whole. So we like to think that, human consciousness, that's the highest that there is, but that's not the case. We are actually not even mid-level. But in the scientific world, let me stop for a second and gain my thoughts on this, because this is actually kind of important. The scientific world, we look at our experiments, okay? We go and we do this, and we make notations of what the outcome was, and what the temperature, what time of day was the oxygen content in the room at this certain level. We go through all of these certain steps in order to more or less recreate another experiment for someone else to do, to prove our theory correct or incorrect otherwise. The thing that has been touched on a little bit, there is this idea that when human beings have an idea of an experiment, like what the outcome of that experiment is going to be. This isn't always the case, mind you, but whenever you project a certain outcome of an experiment, it dictates whether or not that experiment falls into that lines or not, whether you are going to be, quote, successful with that experiment, what the outcome of that experiment is going to be. So human beings can do a particular experiment and actually dictate the outcome of what that experiment is going to be. We try our best to be biased or be unbiased when it comes to that kind of stuff, and it's hard pressed. When light is observed by human beings, light reacts differently. So when a stream of energy, when force, when anything has human consciousness or consciousness of any magnitude, if you will, any humans or higher consciousness, we'll just say, to keep things simple and short. Whenever you have that intervention, I'm going to take a sit right here for a second, that way I can focus on what I'm talking about. Whenever you have that human being, that consciousness interfering in an outcome of something, like our will, when you get a human step into the room, or a conscious being stepping into the room, their energy changes what that room is feeling, what the situation that would otherwise have taken place before they stepped in that room. So back onto the light. When you observe light, when human beings observe light, light acts differently. When we put ourselves in a situation where we're trying to observe something in an unbiased manner, it's damn near impossible to do so. We don't have the scientific ability, we don't have the ability to have precise measurements, tools, scientific apparatuses, if you will, in order to measure consciousness, conscious thought, the reaction of something without human intervention. And we are starting to get to that stage and get to this understanding that, one, we need to take that step forward with science without human beings necessarily being that biased control mechanism, if you will, that I'm not entirely sure what I'm trying to spit out. That the ability to put forth an experiment into place without having their conscious thoughts infecting the outcome, if you will. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. So how do we do this? Well, machines, robots. This is the best thing about machines, is they don't have conscious thought. So when you set up a computer or a particular machine, and you, now this is obviously something that's going to be taking place in the future. This is just something that I'm seeing and spitting out there. We're going to have the ability to set up experiments from start to finish without having any idea what the outcome is going to be, because we're doing like a very start of an experiment where our machines, our capabilities, our tools are going to grow immensely in my lifetime. So we're going to be able, by the time I'm an elderly fuck, a crotchety old codger, I'm going to be able to watch on TV or whatever we're watching at that stage, a documentary on a particular machine that you can put some situations in, theoretical situations in this computer, and then ultimately go through all of the different what the fuck? All of the different possibilities dictating that particular situation. And you can see, okay, 1 out of 100 times this is going to fucking happen, but the other 98 out of 100 times that's going to happen. But there is this one other time that this is going to happen. So you have these 3 outcomes out of this experiment of 100 situations taking place. Same everything, but for whatever reason, you still have these anomalies take place. Now, you don't even have that human interaction trying to dictate that one anomaly. When you think about an experiment, you know, you may have 100 of them, and then, okay, this one, it works the way that I want it to work, so that's the way we're going to bring it to the scientific community. In a lot of ways, you have such false scientists, and the thing is, you know, the science community has to point this out as a farce. You know, there are so many scientists in the world today that are discredited because they say their findings, their actual findings, their truthful findings, and it doesn't fall in line with, you know, the typical idea that is given to us. So those scientists are essentially blackballed. They never get another job again. You know, they're looked at as kooks because more or less they went outside of the norm. We can't have that. We've got to have this unbiased idea that is science. Science is there in order to break down those human barriers. Say that human beings are hard pressed to hold on to a belief. I'll bring this up. I was watching this thing on Neil deGrasse Tyson, Star Talk, the other day, talking about this gentleman was on there. His book was something of the effect of survival guide of scientific belief, or it's something like common sense belief, scientific knowledge, whatever. I forget exactly what it was, but anyways, it was going on to just the attack that is going on today in the scientific community. Like, there are these certain universal truths. Like, for instance, if you touch the hot stove, it's going to burn your hand. It's going to feel hot. It's going to cause pain. Now, we don't have to argue that. We don't have to go and talk to somebody and say, well, my belief is if I touch it fast enough, then it's not going to burn me and hurt me nearly as much. So I discredit your whole theory in that process. It's not a fact, it's just a scientific theory, right? That hot stove really isn't hot, it's just a matter of perspective. No, there's certain universal truths that are unarguable at this point, okay? And when we say something is a theory, a scientific theory, that doesn't mean that that is still subject to debate. It means that it's still being built upon. So, me, for instance, I'm really happy with who I am and where I'm at this stage. But does that mean that I'm going to go stagnant and just not grow any further? I'm not going to add on to the whole theory that is Brian. Sure, I'm happy with this theory that is Brian at this stage, but I'm continuing to build onto it. So that's why you never, in the scientific world, call something a quote fact, a quote this is the end of the line here, because we understand that things work in fractals. We're continuing to push that envelope. We're continuing to move further in the scientific world. Now, I don't want to completely forget about where we came from. I don't want to forget about religion. Now, I'm not a very religious person. I'm a spiritual person, but we'll just say that I've kind of evolved past the need for any particular one religion, if you will. I see the value in all religions. They all have awesome stories, they all have awesome teachings, they all have their place in the world, in my opinion. But as far as saying, hey, this is the one book that we need to read in order to essentially answer all the questions in the world, I think we'd be hard pressed and ignorant to believe that all of the world's answers, all the answers of the cosmos, is any one of your books. Okay, it's a collective of all of them, and there is no one book that's better than the other. Okay, we got to get past that too. You know, your thought process, your idea is not necessarily better than the next guy's. Perhaps on one particular subject, and that's okay. You know, that's your task, your job to be an expert on this particular subject. You know, and help perpetuate that energy, that mindset, that way of thought to all the rest of the people you come in contact with. But that doesn't make you any more important than the other person that has their certain perpetual system that they need to put forth in the cosmos and in people. All of us have our light work. Somebody's light work may be darkness for the other person. And it all boils down to what you accept in your particular world. Like, this is your world, and everyone has their particular dimension. When you're the easiest analogy for this, all of these dimensions, okay, we all have our own bubble, our own place. When you think about this analogy, riding down the road, riding down the freeway in your car, that's your bubble, that's your dimension, okay? Your car. Now you're driving down the freeway and you can see hundreds of other cars in the vicinity. Okay, depending on where you're at, you can even see hundreds of cars up there behind you and up there in front of you. You understand that all those cars are another dimension. That's another family. That's somebody that is sitting there thinking to themselves, listening to their music in their car. They're oblivious to what you're doing in your dimension. But they're right there. You can see them. But a lot of us don't see those cars in front of us or cars around us. We don't pay attention to that because we're stuck in our own dimension. We're locked in our own dimension. Now, some of us have the ability, we have these shamanic abilities, if you will, to walk in between these different dimensions, these different worlds, and that's why we're so fucking weird and crazy. And all the way back in indigenous times, the shaman, the medicine man, he lived on the outside, she lived on the outside of the village, if you will, because they were crazy, they were different, but they were absolutely necessary. You even have stories of the Heyoka. I resonate with the Heyoka because it translates to sacred clown. It's essentially a native word for twin flames, for empaths, for star seeds, for that one person in the tribe that. So when the tribe is in a chaotic means, you know, it's funny because this person tends to step up to leadership roles and bring that chaos to a sense of balance. That chaos that gets a little too chaotic, they're able to walk into the chaos, the shitstorm, if you will, and to organize it. A Heyoka has that ability, starseed, a twin flame. We have that ability to walk into this chaos,
once we know what we are, that is. You know, if you don't know what you are, then you're going to be dangerous as fuck and probably cause more problems than you know what to do with. But the Heyoka can go into this middle of this chaos and create a system of balance. Now, on the flip side, the Heyoka also goes into this world that is a little too balanced, a little too stale, a little too stagnant, if you will. That Heyoka, the very same one that was doing light work that day before, is going to create chaos, create turmoil, create havoc. And that's what's so hard for people to understand me, because I could do this loving, caring thing to bring this world around me in balance, but also realize, man, at certain points, this balance thing, this whole perpetual bliss is fucking boring. I mean, what if everyone was just going, yay, and dancing around and woohoo? It's fucking boring. You gotta go, the same person that was creating that out of the chaos and the turmoil is gonna realize, well, fuck, we need some chaos and turmoil now. And that's the Heyoka. That's one of the hardest things to figure out with being a twin. Because, you know, one moment you're pulled this way, you're pulled and you're drawn over here to be in the light. Shit, tomorrow you may want to stay over there and reside in the darkness. Finding a balance is key. Finding that balance in everything is key. And that's when we think about gravity, when we think about forces. You know, the dark energy, that dark gravity, that dark matter, if you will, is the other spectrum of things. We have to have that push and pull, and we sit in the middle. So when we think about gravity on this side, we're like, okay, well, we're pulled, we're drawn to this right here. We're thinking linear. We're in this linear mindset. Because on the other end of it, the other spectrum of it, and perhaps, like I said, that's my theory, it's consciousness. Gravity, the other aspect, the other side of it, is us, our consciousness. We are linked to consciousness. It's all about evolution of consciousness. That's what's taking place today. So, do everything that you feel you need to do in order to push not only your consciousness, your conscious thought process, but do what you need to do to push mankind's conscious thought. I'm saying this, and I'm also looking for a spot to perhaps throw up my hammock, because I got my hammock in my backpack. Ooh, look at this. So, there's my little stream over here. I haven't ever scoped this area out, so forgive me if I'm a little sidetracked, but half of the fun for me coming out here and doing these videos is actually exploring and, you know, uncovering some shit. Go outside and uncover some rocks. When you hear a noise, go and explore what that noise is. When you have an itch, fucking scratch it, dude. Oh, stop being stagnant. Stop sitting around and accepting bliss, if you will. One of the things that I want to talk about, this brings me to the subject with twin flames. The whole
concept of getting your twin flame in your life and them staying in your life. I look at myself in this perspective. Okay, this is my perspective. This is the way that I'm foreseeing it. If I got everything that I wanted out of my twin, and she, if say we were married right now and we're going about our lives and doing our thing, I wouldn't be making this video. I would be content. I would be more worried about, hell, probably cleaning the garage or fucking rubbing her feet or going and getting the kids fucking formula and diapers or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I would be doing these kind of things. I wouldn't be sitting here like contemplating all this shit. I wouldn't be in the stage that I'm at today if I didn't have these last couple of years in order to fester on all of these thoughts, right? So when you think about the twin flame reunion, the twin flame union, the twin flame whole cycle, whole process, the thing is necessary because it's human beings are all about their love. Okay, we have to get paid, right? We got to get something for doing something. The only thing, like, I can't be bought. Some of us, like twin flames, we're such chaotic individuals, if you will. You can't buy them. You can't purchase them and make them walk this path, if you will. You can't force them into anything. They're going to go what the fuck they want to. They're going to do what the fuck they want to. So the cosmos has this system in play with this whole twin flame thing, because when they come into your life, it's like that carrot on the stick. It's like the, hey, you need to do this now. Otherwise, people aren't going to do that. They aren't going to walk that path. They're not going to do something that they otherwise wouldn't have done. They're not going to step outside of that matrix, that box, that comfortable place that we like to sit in. So when people are all like, oh, my heart is broken and my twin doesn't love me anymore, and they don't even talk to me, won't even tell me to go and fuck myself, right? Say, fuck you, I'm pissed off at you, go fuck yourself. You're not even getting any of that. It's just no more contact at all, not even anything. And that hurts so much more than getting that fuck you or this, that, and the other. Because guess what that does is it opens up your mind to, like, well, what did I do? What is the problem? What is this? Did I do that? Is it because of this? So what you're doing here, and I love this whole idea. What you're doing is you have had the door opened up. You opened it up your damn self, mind you. We like to blame it on our twin, but we opened up this door. Like, okay, these are all of the things that I don't like about me or might otherwise have been the cause to push her away, right? So these are all the things that I need to work on. So you see what I'm getting at, right? What I'm doing here, what the twin flame has done to me personally, that experience has done, is take everything that I otherwise need to work on, need to have brought to my attention, and is brought to my attention. Because of that silence, because of that abandonment, if you will, you feel very vulnerable, very malleable, if you will. At that stage, you can think about things. Your ego is so broken down to a stage where now, it's almost like you have all your Lego castle built up, right? Now at this stage, you can't just take a part of the Lego castle and then, like, let's play with Legos. Well, I love that Lego castle. I don't want to break it all down, but I really want to play with my Legos. So I'm just going to take part of this castle apart, and then we'll break part of it down, and then we'll rebuild the castle back. Well, that's not nearly as much fun. We like that castle the way that it is, but all of our Legos are used up making that castle. So the twin flame comes in and just kicks the fucking Legos all over the place. And now we're mad at our twins because, well, I liked that castle. I was happy with that castle. That Lego castle was fucking awesome. I've even learned how to take it apart and put it back together like 30 fucking times. It's how dare you just come in and kick my fucking Lego castle into pieces? But now I can take all those Legos and make a pirate ship. And then I have some left over to make a pirate island to store my treasure for my pirate ship. And now all these whole new ideas come into place about building your Legos. Because heaven forbid your twin came in there and kicked all your Legos around. Created chaos. It's up to us to rebuild that castle, that us, if you will, in a way that we didn't otherwise see before. We didn't ever foresee having that opportunity to be given to us to do so. So at the moment, we're like, well, motherfucker, she came in and kicked all my Legos around. The fuck am I gonna do now? I don't even remember. I built that castle 100 times and I remember how to put it back together, but now it's all over the place and it took me fucking all these years to do it. I don't even want to fucking build my castle that way. I see what was wrong with it now. When you get a couple years to sit and fester with that kind of thought process, you start opening those doors, you start developing, you start growing, you start realizing that it is just a matter of perspective. There is no right and wrong. There is no beginning or end. There is no linearity. It's just a matter of, ooh, that's my hammock spot here. It's just a matter of acceptance. Like, what are you happy with? What are you content with? What do you accept? What's going to happen in your world it's going to happen in your world because you let it happen. You command it to happen. You make it happen. So when you sit there and you ask, God, why do you let this stuff happen? What you're doing is asking yourself, why in the fuck do you let this stuff happen? Why do you accept it? I don't know. One cool thing that I realize is it's hard pressed when somebody likes themselves. Like, I am really getting to the stage in my life that I'm happy with who I am. I'm happy with where I'm at, what I'm doing, and so many things have changed, but not a whole lot of them have changed drastically. So many of the changes that have taken place have been more in myself than anything else. Oh. It's an interesting time in my life when I realize
that I don't have all the answers, and that's okay. Because I ask all the relevant questions. At this stage in my life, I'm not distracted from asking those questions that need to be asked. And when people aren't willing to give me an answer, then I don't accept that either. I'll go further and I'll seek the answers. Even if they don't want to give me the answers, I can work around them. I can find them without their help, if you will. There's so many distractions in the world, and we allow those distractions in our lives. We have gotten to the stage where we almost want to be distracted. We come home from work and we do our best to drown in distractions. Okay? Drinking, getting drunk, that's a distraction. Watching a TV show that otherwise is about nothing, you know? There's no educational value in it. There's no growth whatsoever. It's a distraction. And when I ask people, why do you watch this crap? Oh, it's a distraction. They even know it. They understand, hey, I'm watching this fucking Entertainment Tonight bullshit because it's a distraction. You learn about people that don't even matter. Your stars in the movies and TV, and you know, it blows my mind. You've got these people that are famous because they're famous type of stuff. Like, they didn't do anything to become famous other than the folks say, you know what, you're easily controlled, you sign your name here and we'll make you a star. You don't even have to do anything anymore. All you gotta do is be a halfwit that looks halfway decent and spits out what you fucking tell them to say. The interesting thing is people don't like being slaves. You get a situation like a Prince, for instance. Prince, you build up Prince, make him a star, you know, give him all of the lavish life and all of the above type of thing. As long as he signs the dotted line and does what you want him to do. Now, over time, Prince gets to the point where it's like, well, fuck, I've got this success, but I'm still not happy because I'm a slave. I'm owned by these Rothschild banking cartels, owning the music industry and essentially telling me what I need to put out there. That way they can easily control the population. So that's more or less what happens in the world today. You know, when you get somebody like that stops doing their job, being their little puppet, you take them down, you take them out. Michael Jackson, Chris Cornell, Tupac, you know, it's when you do your job, you become like an Ice Cube or a Will Smith, you know? You're in all these movies, you're in all of these TV shows. Ice Cube is on the Disney Channel movies now. I'm going to repeat that. The guy that more or less wrote the vast majority of NWA's, you know, music is now on kids' movies. Now, how can this happen? Oh, well, he grew up and yada, yada, yada. No. He got bought out. Now, getting bought out seems a lot better than being dead. So, I see why these people make these judgments. You know, look at Bernie Sanders for instance. You know Bernie Sanders had so much more real support than Hillary Clinton, right? And I'm not a big fan of Bernie Sanders, you know. I'm a big fan of Ron Paul, and that just tells you a lot. Bernie Sanders and Ron Paul have, you know, worked together for auditing the Fed, and Bernie Sanders essentially screwed Ron Paul over and all of us with his shenanigans. So we all know that Bernie Sanders is a hoax, he's a farce, he's a nonsense. But he had a lot more people convinced that he was real than Hillary Clinton ever could. But he wasn't the nominee. They ended up stealing it from him. And he had all of the proof, all of the, hey, you guys stole this from me. You're a bunch of cheaters. You're a bunch of a-holes for this. This isn't fair. Instead of saying this, you know, because otherwise Hillary Clinton showed him a picture of his grandkids swinging on a swing, saying, hey, I know where your grandkids are. I just wanted to remind you about that. So, you wanted to throw your support my way, right? Oh, yeah, of course, Mrs. Clinton. I much like watching my grandkids grow up and what have you. Okay, I appreciate that. Here's a book signing. We'll give you $500,000 to come over here to this book signing, to this to this charitable event, right? But we're going to pay you $500,000. That's the way around these things. You ask, how are these politicians bought and paid for? Well, it just so happens that, you know, you can go and legally pay somebody $1 million for just showing up to some banquet and giving a speech. Hey, keep doing what I want you to do, and we'll keep giving you $1 million for a fucking speech. Yeah, that's the world we're living in today, y'all. And I don't accept it anymore. The easiest way to break the system is to bring more of those people out of their dimensions, out of their cars. So go running with that analogy, where all of us are driving down the freeway in our cars, and that's our own individual dimensions. What I feel like I have the ability to do, because I am Heyoka, I am a starseed, I am incredibly strong-willed and have pure intent, I can take my car on this freeway, block a few lanes out, stand on top of it, and more or less piss some folks off at first. And that's what I've done in my life. I've pissed a lot of people off, speaking the truth and speaking relevant subjects that people otherwise didn't want to hear. But now we're at a stage where all of those truths and relevant subjects that I've been trying to bring to people's attention are at the surface level now. So I don't look like, well, Brian, I'm trying to keep my head in the sand. Stop being such a prick and pulling my head out of the sand. We don't want to hear about that stuff. We want to watch Dancing with the Stars. What an asshole. Now I can't even enjoy Dancing with the Stars because you're talking about the fucking planet is running into this chaotic effect, and I'm not even going to get to have Dancing with the Stars tomorrow if I don't pull my head out of the stand. Well, what the fuck? I want to watch Dancing with the Stars today. Tomorrow is tomorrow. We'll worry about that tomorrow. So I'm on top of my car, the freeway. Now everyone's stepping out of their car. They're otherwise pissed off to begin with, but now they're starting to hear the message. They're starting to understand. Now, the interesting thing, how it works, is when we're all in our own little cars, in our own little dimensions, our third dimensions, if you will. We're easily controlled, we're easily manipulated, we're easily channeled down the freeway, down the one way, right? Now, some of us have means of getting off at the exit, but we're all going to be channeling down the same direction. Now, I have put a stop to that, stepped on. Now everyone has to get out of their cars. Now everyone has to look around and think. Now everyone has to absorb what's going on. Now everyone has the ability, has the option, because now what I'm doing is getting back in my car, getting the fuck out of everyone's way. Because all my job is to more or less throw a wrench in the wheelworks that is the perpetual bullshit system that is going on today. Now everyone has the opportunity. Now I can't make those people follow me or do anything in particular, but they have the opportunity at this stage to get back in their car and go right back to the perpetual being in their own dimension, or they can stay out of their car and more or less block the other people and portray their message to them and move this situation all the way back and all the way forward. Some of these people may just leave their car there and realize, well, fuck this whole system altogether, and just venture off of the freeway and go and walk and throw their hammock onto the side of the freeway and fucking start living off the land again. You know, all these different options start taking place. All because I and or we as individuals took that step. Because we do all have that ability. We have the ability to create that bit of chaos. But ultimately, that's what takes that stagnant situation and brings it into a better situation. When you take your Lego castle and tear it all into pieces, if you will, and you create a Lego village. It all comes down to us as individuals. When we can be an individual and understand what's going on and be that force to be reckoned with in our vicinity, in our area, it's going to be hard pressed to fight all of us doing that. And what if instead of us being all individuals doing our separate task, we look at the grand scheme of things. We understand, okay, this is our one task. We are one Lego building this wall here, but we need all the rest of the Legos to help build that wall. We need the other cogs in the works. We need the other star seeds. We need to start pegging off of each other and take that bit of energy that she's telling us and take it and expand on it and deliver it to this group over here. And you can see the evolution and the energy flowing through all of us at this stage, because there's quite a few of us that are awakening, that are doing awesome work, that are going onto YouTube, making videos, that are taking individual steps, you know, with their families and friends and, you know, the people that they interact with each day. You have people out there doing what needs to be done, and you don't need a whole lot of them. They're able to understand this balance. Like, I need to go and work a real job and pay bills. That's what I have to. I don't like it. I think that it's bullshit. And here in a couple of years, when my daughter is of age to more or less make that decision to go and pay her bills and do all that, or do what I am essentially going to decide to do, and I'm going to go back into the fucking woods. I'm going to become a modern indigenous person.
I'm gonna take my technology and stuff, and we're gonna have some of that in the woods, what have you, but I'm gonna find that comfortable medium, that balance, that I can get away from society, if you will, and live off the land, be a pioneer, be one of the jack of all trades like America was supposed to be built on. That's me. If my twin just said tomorrow, "Hey, Brian, let's go in the mountains, build a cabin, you know, live off the grid, self-sustained lifestyle, you know, let's let's raise our kids to be outside of this norm that is today. Let's raise our kids to be the future, the people that we otherwise want to see in the world." Let's put some of those seeds out there. All of that sounds so great, and that's something that I would love to step on board with right now and say, yeah, let's do it. But I know there's a lot of work still left to be had. I'm not going to be able to let myself step away from the work and do that. That's what I recognize now. I recognize that as much as I want to be with my twin, as much as I want to just be left the fuck alone, you know? Not deal with all this chaos and all this, you know. But all I would be doing is leaving it for somebody else to deal with, leaving it for my kids to deal with, leaving it for my grandkids to deal with. And isn't that what we've been doing over and over again? Isn't that what these lives we've continuously fucking been in? Isn't that what it's always about? Some of us need to step up. Some of us need to accept the fact that we need to... We do need to sacrifice some things, like love and not contentment. Being content, maybe it is contentment. I'm not even sure what word I'm searching for, but some of us just need to be that figure to walk around and to create chaos in other people's lives in order to make them appreciate the chaos. Realize that their life is stagnant, and that there are certain individuals that have the ability, the capability to come in and stir the stagnant pool, if you will. Right now, I'm 100% certain that's me. That's my path. I'm Heyoka. I'm supposed to stir the stagnant pools. Hopefully it works out to where I get to enjoy some of the fruits of my labor. Hopefully one day I'll get to hold my twin in my arms again. And I'll get to experience that fulfillment, that at that stage, you know, it's like you are one with the cosmos. You can turn back time. You can stop the Earth's revolution and turn it back the other way. It's like you feel you have that in that moment. But if I had that moment all the time, would I even really appreciate it after so long? After so long of having that moment,
would I sit here and appreciate it the same way? That's the step, that's the things you need to ask yourself, I think, before you can let your twin flame come back into your life. A lot of it has to do with us. It has to do with our decisions and theirs, because we can't control them. They're doing the same thing, the same kind of work that we are, that I am. We say the less conscious twin, but they're not any more or less conscious than we are. If it wasn't for them coming in our lives, we wouldn't be as conscious as we think that we are. So it's the push and pull. We're not any better, we're not any less. We need each other. I need all of you guys. I may be able to inspire somebody, but what if I have a bad day? What if I have a situation that I don't have the answers to? And that person that I quote inspired, weeks later is doing better than what I could ever even imagine. So they may never have even walked that path unless I sparked that and gave them that inspiration. But weeks down the road, or months down the road, or years down the road, that same person that you otherwise, started on that path is going to be there to lift you up, to teach you something, to give you that boost that you otherwise need when you need when you need that inspiration. So yeah, I kind of ran on a bunch of tangents. I'm in this perpetual thinking state right now. I'm not as much in the quote guru, going on a tangent, running on and saying all kinds of enlightening things. I don't feel right now. I feel this is more or less for me to sit back and watch, and to kind of have a diary, in a sense, if you will. Have these steps of growth. I look back at, the videos that I made months ago or years ago, and I still see a lot of growth happening from video to video. So this today, I think, is something that I will share, but it's not full of this enlightenment and full of this, I don't know, full of this energy. Like, I need to recharge. This weekend is Memorial Day weekend, and I still haven't put my hammock up, but that's what I'm about to do right now. I'm going to recharge. So I'm going to put the video up. I may make another one after I get done laying in my hammock and chilling out and relaxing for a little while, but I mean, check out my spot. And this is a spot that I just ran across. I've never been here, but I like the feeling of this spot. I think right over there is where I'm going to put my hammock. So on this tree, on this tree. I'll have this up here to scope. And if you listen for a moment, that's what I get to listen to. So yeah, I'm gonna mentally recharge, and I'll come back and see what I can do the rest of the weekend with my videos.
But I did want to make sure I got a little something out here, because otherwise, what's the point of documenting my experience if I don't get some shitty videos, if I don't get some me not knowing all the answers? I don't know fucking shit, to be honest with you. I in all honesty may sound like I have answers, but I know just a couple of answers. Just a little bit. I'm still figuring things out. And I accept that. I understand that. And I own that. I own the fact that, shit, I'm still on a beginning level. I'm still here in the 3D as well. I still have a lot to fucking learn and figure out. The best thing that I can do is to step away from all of the distractions that keep me from figuring them out. I hope this helped you guys out. Hang loose. Love you guys.